and welcome to episode 3 of Jennelle's RV build, preparation for new walls. So the first thing I did was get suited up and I grabbed my oscillating tool to cut through the remnants of these fiberglass walls. I actually found it quite comical that I was just hopping in and out of this massive hole that would eventually be my future home. So the only thing holding this fiberglass shell down are a couple bolts that go through a 2-inch lip into the frame. So I tried to unbolt them, but I was only able to remove one. I spent many hours trying to remove the rest, but they were so rusted, so I just grabbed my grinder and cut them out and was able to remove the first half of this wall. The next day, I didn't even bother to try to properly remove the bolts on the other side. I just cut those out as well. Definitely a lot faster and a lot less effort. And then I just went in on this door frame, which was constructed completely out of fiberglass, which kind of surprised me. And then I cut through a couple more bolts that were holding down the threshold, and lo and behold, the frame to the RV is rusty, super rusty. But anyway, here's me wedging a crowbar under my gray water tank. I just had to remove it so that I could access the rest of the frame. I will be keeping that gray water tank and replacing it later. This bottom panel was hanging on for dear life. I didn't realize that it was bolted in unison with the walls, so I just removed it for now and I will be putting it back when I bolt in my new walls. The next day, I decided to test my strength and I popped open my pop top and tried to do a single pull-up. And I did about 3/4 of it and felt pretty good about myself. Anyways, I left quite a mess from the day before, so I decided to tidy up a little bit so that the neighbors wouldn't complain. Spoiler alert, they still did. Anyways, I proceeded to remove the remnants of my side walls, switching between my grinder and my oscillating tool. The oscillating tool produces far less dust, but the grinder is a quadrillion times faster, so do what you will with that information if you plan on cutting fiberglass. Abracadabra, the side walls have disappeared. I removed the bottom panel on the other side, and then I removed the steel step since my door is no longer going to be on that side. Also, I despise that step. I hate that steel step, and don't ask me why. Another thing I hate is this flimsy fiberglass bumper. So I carefully removed my taillights and took that piece of poo to the junkyard. The next morning, the blue van and I took a trip to the local lumber store to grab a couple 2x3 studs. I also want to state that the shirt that I'm wearing is actually green and it looks brown here, and honestly I don't know what to believe anymore. Anyways, I took a couple rough measurements and then used my brand new miter saw for the first time, and boy, when I tell you, this is my favorite tool. This right here, fire. I secured these 2x3 studs using some angled brackets and self-tapping screws on both sides of the studs, going through the roof and through the floors, so that the ceiling wouldn't collapse on me while I was working on the RV. I gave the studs a couple hi-yahs, and they came out pretty sturdy. Before knocking down that last wall, this was very much bothering me. I tried really hard to jam that rusty tailpipe into the muffler, but it would not go in. That's what she said. I'm gonna need a longer tailpipe anyway, since I am building my little cottagecore porch on the back of the RV. Then I got geared up to remove the last and final wall. Dun dun dun! Jennelle's the name, and rust removal is my game. As I mentioned earlier, the frame to the RV was extremely rusted, and I did everything in my power to remove said rust. This is a paint and rust removal wheel, and then I went in with a grinding and polishing wheel. This thing was way more efficient than the first wheel. And then this is a wire brush that I attached to a drill, and I use this to get into all of the bolt holes and little crevices. Once I felt like I did an adequate job, I gave the frame a good wipe down with some mineral spirits, making sure that no part was left untouched. Then I prepped the frame for some rust removing gel by saturating it with some good old H2O. I read the bottle real quick, and sprayed the frame with said gel, brushing it on as I go, making sure not to miss any crack or crevice. I'm really serious about this rust removal. Like, we gotta start with a good foundation. I let the gel sit for an hour and then gave it a good wipe down with some water, and as you can see, it worked. Rust haunted me in my sleep, so I woke up at 3 in the morning to seal the deal. I know the frame still looks a little bit rusty, but I promise you it's not. It's just that it was originally painted red. So I applied some painter's tape in preparation for spraying some rust sealant. I wasn't super concerned about overspray, but I still decided to cover the bed. I gave the frame a final wipe down and then grabbed my spray cans and gave it a little shakety shake. The instructions said 1 minute. I did 2 because it was extra cold outside, and I was just having fun with it. After nearly blinding myself with this rust sealant, I dusted on my first coat. So bad. I sprayed 4 coats of rust sealant in total, but I had to wait an hour in between each coat, so by the time I did my 4th coat, the sun had risen. Here's me spraying on my last coat of rust sealant. Sleep? We don't know her. Rust? Who is that? Never heard of her. I let the frame dry for a few days until I felt like it was completely cured, and then I went in with some pink enamel spray. This step is not absolutely necessary, but I did want to add a layer of enamel as extra protection, and the store just happened to have pink. So this is really just for funsies. Like, literally no one's gonna see that my frame is pink because it's gonna be covered when the walls and the bumper and everything else is back up, but I will know that it's pink, and that is all that matters. I sprayed about 2.5 coats of enamel and I let that dry for 2 days, and once it dried, I peeled back my tape and my plastic to reveal my bubblegum pink frame. And there you have it, folks. My days of destruction are over, and I can finally start the building part of my RV build series. I've said this once, and I'll say it again. I regret nothing. I know the RV looks a little, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Hello. I know. I said that I was going to post at least every 2 weeks. So what had happened was a series of events. As some of you guys might know, I've been staying with my older sister and working on my RV in her backyard. And since we last spoke, our neighbors complained to the city that my RV is an eyesore. Close your eyes, just don't look, it's none of your business. Long story short, I had to decide whether I was going to continue to work on my RV here and make a bunch of adjustments to the backyard so that it was up to code, or find a new place to rent and continue this project. Ultimately, I decided to stay because moving the RV in the condition that it's currently in would just be way too much of a hassle, as well as moving all of my equipment and tools. And I was having quite a difficult time trying to find a workshop or rental property for me to relocate to. So I've spent the past couple of weeks just making sure everything in the backyard is up to code. This is my sister's house, like she owns the house, so I don't want her to get in any trouble because of this thing. So that is what I've been doing, and that's why I've been gone. I haven't really been able to work on the RV because I'm trying to make sure that I can work on the RV without getting in trouble. So we finally passed the inspection. There are a couple more things that I have to complete before I can start working on the RV again. Example A, I have to set those pavers over there. My brother-in-law already started right here, and then I gotta finish the rest because apparently it's against the code for the RV to be parked on dirt. I'm not gonna promise a posting schedule. My life has been extra unpredictable lately, so be sure to subscribe and turn your post notifications on. I never asked you guys to do that, but just because I know that I'm so inconsistent, I know a lot of you guys really look forward to my videos, and I'm just all over the place. So be sure to subscribe and turn on your post notifications for when I do upload. There will be a day when I can post consistently, and I think that will be once the RV is complete. But this thing has consumed everything in my life, and I regret nothing. As I would like to remind, first and foremost, myself, and second, some of you guys, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. No clue. Literally everything that I'm doing, I'm learning as I'm doing it, but I am like a little too overconfident because she ain't got no walls. What the heck? I've also decided that I'm going to take on welding. So that is also part of the reason that some things are postponed, because I've been studying. It's been a long time since I've been in school. Lastly, before I go, many of you guys commented, messaged me, emailed me, DM'd me, all of the above, to inform me that cedar is toxic to reptiles after watching my last video and after I stated my intention to put cedar shingle siding on my walls of the RV. I truly appreciate your guys' concern for Alfredo. It really does warm my heart that so many of you care for him. I do want to state that I am well aware that cedar is toxic to reptiles. However, that being said, I have spent many months designing and planning how I'm going to build these walls, period, but also how I'm going to build these walls with Alfredo's well-being in mind. In my wall building episode, whenever I get to that, I will definitely go into more detail. I am very proud of the design and hopefully I execute it well, but rest assured, Alfredo will never come in contact with cedar. He is my one and only son, the heir to the throne. Alfredo means everything to me, and I would never do anything to jeopardize his health. My designs for his tank are luxurious. He's going to be living in luxury. Anyways, life is good. Life is grand. As always, stay rad, weaves. Toodles.